And so Johnny had him has had people basically double it over, so we get 2 layers there, because we want 2 layers everywhere, essentially, so we get kind of consistent, even pressure. I never really learned to do it that way, and I always just tried to get the coverage of the very tip in the course of making my normal figure 8 passes. So I usually just start on one corner of the residual limb or the other. I try and have enough extra on the underside so that when I make my first pass, I can pin that down with the bandage, and now I can have another hand free. I'm not having to stabilize anything there. So the way I like to think about doing your figure of 8 is if you're trying to create that pretty diagonal herringbone pattern on the front, your passes on the posterior side are more or less horizontal. So I've come around horizontally, now I can come capture this tip, and so yeah, I still got that, and it's gapping a little bit, but I'll come back later and catch it. So I'm going to go a little bit higher on this wrap, and now I'm high enough that I can probably kind of come down and have enough angle to capture that. And then again, cross over horizontally kind of, and then come back up here. And then I can come over here again. I'll probably catch that on my next pass. Again, coming.
But notice the pressure he's putting on there.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
It's a significant amount.
It's a pretty significant amount of pressure.
So because you were trying to just compress it and get that swelling.
Trying to compress it again.
Yeah.
The most important place where we have the compression is right here. So gradually loosening up as we go. I didn't get that high, and I'd never really used ones with Velcro. We just didn't stock them. And so if you don't have Velcro, then you're just going to basically tape this part down before we go on to the next layer.
So is that as high as you go for a below knee?
No.
Okay.
Ideally, you're going to go above the knee. You basically want to think about the femoral condyles as being kind of the anchor point. So if I didn't have Velcro, I'd essentially have probably torn my pieces of tape ahead of time if I was being good, or have my aide do that. And you don't need a strong tape, you just need something to keep it in place. So my first layer, I started this way. So if I'm trying to get really even pressure, I might start my next one from the other side and come. Because I've already covered most of this, I'm not going to really worry about getting a ton of overlap down here, because I still have a lot of real estate to cover up top. So I'm going to immediately kind of on this layer start being a little bit more aggressive as far as coming up higher on the limb. And I'm trying to back off my pressure as I go. And so now I'm above the knee. And so this one should be fine once I run out. I'll just have it end above the knee, bring it around. One thing to think about when you're having these pieces of Velcro especially is where they end if you have them. And even if you don't have Velcro, medial side is not a great place for things to end, because then the other leg can rub against it a lot easier. It's always better to have it end like on the top or on the lateral side. You don't really want it ending on the bottom, and because there's a lot of friction if the person's sitting there. And then here again, obviously that's not going to feel great. That leg. So that's kind of what I would do for that below knee or transtibial. You want to try and get at least 2 layers everywhere. We want to have it snug down here, gradually backing off as we go up, and we do want to have something that's going to cross over the knee, so that way it's going to basically have because of the way the femur flares out to go out to those condyles, you're essentially getting above that, so it serves as a block to keep it from just sliding off. Yep.
So is it still pretty crucial not to get any like bumps as you're wrapping, or like these little, or is it not?
Ideally you definitely want to avoid them. It's definitely going to create some problems, and I didn't really do a spot check on exactly where I had them. Realistically, you can have it as